Okay, so I got you in big view real quick. Let's do a clap. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Spartalknewztalk, your plucky working class source for the news you need and the takes you trust. We are casting from a small town in a big city, southwest Detroit, Mexican town. Killing it today on the rigging. We have Rigmaster General Haakim Walker. Haakim, I did the best I could not to use rig there with a hard R, but you really did a great job with rigging this week.
Yes, I've been rigging. This is the most I've ever rigged.
Yeah, well, you did a great job. You want to do a little setup in terms of what the drink that we're having this week, or that I'm having this week?
Well, first of all, happy 420. That's what today is. So, for all the pot smokers out there, happy 420. And this drink is dedicated to y'all. Sometimes you need to relax with a good libation. Sometimes you need to relax with a little bit of weed, and this time you can do both. And here we go. We're gonna set this up right now with a fresh new cocktail.
Thanks, Haakim. Okay, so today is 420, so happy weed day, guys. So what we're gonna do today is a weed-infused cocktail. So have this weed-infused mezcal here. So what this is made with 1/8 an ounce of sour diesel and 250 milliliters of mezcal there. So what we're gonna do is start off, we're gonna make this a cocktail in a coupe glass. Gonna do 2 ounces of the infusion. Like so. And we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of this ginger and lemongrass syrup. Okay, and we're gonna do a full lime into the cocktail. And for you guys that want to experiment with this, I think this is going to be the new craze as weed becomes more legal. It is a very potent cocktail. It's very unique how you can smoke and you can drink, but something about when you combine the two, it's very, someone described it as wavy, but it's fun. So be careful. That's 1 full lime in that, which is roughly about 1 ounce. So we're gonna shake that well. And I'm going to strain that into our coupe glass. We're gonna double strain this today. So this is our Magic Dragon cocktail. Normally I'd garnish it with weed, but some of my friends smoked all of it up. But here you go. Back to you.
All right. The perfect cocktail to get me paranoid and loose for our guest today. More on that later. It is Tuesday, April 20th, 420, and today in the news. Our leading story today, as it just happened, is that Derek Chauvin has been found guilty on all 3 counts by a jury of his peers on murdering George Floyd. That's 2nd-degree unintentional murder, 3rd-degree murder, and 2nd-degree manslaughter. Bail has also been denied. Did you expect this, Haakim?
I expected it, but it doesn't mean that was going to happen. It's like one of those things. Like the fact that and someone else said this, the fact that we were nervous having video evidence that this was not a given that he would be charged. First of all, then there's the possibility that they can appeal and all that. But yeah, this was definitely a good moment. But the fact that we got here to the place where we're like nervous that even though the entire world saw what happened, that he may get off is still scary.
Right. And the most recent thing that Representative Maxine Waters made a comment that
Right.
that basically that if it's anything less than a guilty verdict, that the people should take it to them. And I mean, I think this was monumentally stupid in terms of actually he's got an appeal now. I don't think he would have necessarily had one before this.
Yeah, but it's he's a public
political
figure.
pressures.
Yeah.
That being said, political pressures absolutely played a role in this court battle, and they should have. The idea that courts are above the realm of politics and political change is absurd, and they should stop acting like it, because these things ought to be changed in the criminal justice system, and that's exactly what they've been marching out on the streets for. But without the threat of riots, the prosecution probably would have ginned this up nonetheless.
Possibly, but with her regards to what she says, and someone else said the same thing. It's how if she can affect the courts what about Donald Trump? All the dumb things he said for the past 4 years would affect the court system also. Then, right? He's an elected official. He's the highest elected official. So why is it that her saying this would affect an acquittal for Chauvin?
Right, and it didn't. It ultimately didn't manifest in an acquittal. But what I'm saying is that it could manifest in an appeal.
Yeah, appeal. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, but the acquittal was a real possibility, early on to her statements. The other thing that we should mention is that Rashida Tlaib came out publicly for police abolition. This is something that I want to get into more, because the police and prison abolition movement is very potent in this city and in cities across the city. So, but I'd like to have someone on before we actually talk about it. And all I'll say in that respect is that while I think that there are some radioactive rhetoric associated with the abolition movement, they definitely did their part to move this conversation forward in a positive way. So it's a double-edged sword, and talking to people further is probably going to be the best way to further understand it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, there are 3 more officers that are implicated in this death that have yet to be prosecuted. Raul Castro has stepped down as first secretary of the Communist Party in Cuba, occupying the position for 10 years since his brother Fidel died. Yesterday, the country's communist hierarchy selected Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel to the powerful position. Jordan Peterson responded on Twitter to a new Captain American comic Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote for Marvel. I haven't read it yet, but it appears Cap's nemesis Red Skull is portrayed as running a site advocating rules for life and a feminist trap. And he just, Peterson describes finding out about this as surreal, which I don't blame him. I think that would be kind of you're basically finding out that you're a Marvel villain, overnight.
It's a little extreme because I think the standards for a Nazi character that that Red Skull is based off is a little much for you. Might not. I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says or represents, but it's a little.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. If they were saying that Jordan Peterson is Hitler, it'd be one thing. But Marvel's trying to sell
he's
those
worse than Hitler. They're saying he's a super villain version of Hitler. Like you said,
let's make this much clear is that the thing that Red Skull has morally over Hitler is that Red Skull is a fictional character designed to sell comics, and that's what I'm saying. This is a marketing campaign. I mean, I get what you're saying is that it's maybe, maybe dirty pool, but that's what I mean. When has Marvel ever been above that? I think it's fun. Personally, I think it's fun.
I think it's a
fun reimagining of Red Skull.
Yeah. Thing is, Jordan Peterson's a real person, and that's the problem.
Well, yes, but he also is. I think that the whole new Red Skull concept is that he is basically turning on white supremacists to this idea. That's my cursory assessment after, I haven't read it, but Jordan Peterson easily could be a gateway towards some of these groups.
That's a matter of opinion. I listen to some of the things he says, and even I don't get that, but I know some people do.
You're not a white supremacist after listening to some things Jordan Peterson
normally
said?
not.
Oh, where? Weird.
Like the things he says seem reasonable, although I don't agree with everything he says, but I still think he's a far cry from a Nazi. That's all. He says like clean your room as if you're a man. It's kind of like taking accountability. I know there's other stuff, but there's certain things that just make sense, and some don't, some do. But it's like.
No,
it's
Haakim,
debatable.
Only Nazis have clean rooms. That's something they don't tell you in the history books, but that's why communists. People who believe in democracy, like pig pen rooms. That's all I'm saying. But
metaphor, obviously.
But no, I agree. I agree with that. I don't think Jordan Peterson is a Nazi. I just think that it's funny to provoke him because I think he's a little bit of a blowhard. I agree. I don't think that everything he says is like completely unreasonable either. But like, he certainly complicates ideas to the point that is unnecessary and obfuscates what is the real issue. But I'm interested to read the comic actually and see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just one aspect of it. I mean, I have no idea. The last time I wrote a Captain America comic, but yeah.
Yeah, and Captain America sucks anyway. I mean, I'm not a Nazi, but I'm kind of on Red Skull's side because if him and I might team up to take down Captain America because he's just a shitty hero. I don't like Captain America much. He's boring.
A little corny. It's fun.
A little corny, yes. There is a pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after 6 reported cases of blood clots in the U.S. and capitalizing on 420 and the newly legalized substance. New York activists are attempting a joints for jabs marijuana handout to promote vaccination today. And Michigan is still the only state at severe COVID risk level. And it snowed all day today in April. So Haakim, God hates us, clearly. I don't know what we did to him, but I'm just tired of being the metaphysical doghouse. I don't know about you.
Is that because of weather?
Yeah, the weather.
I think the difference is you live in Michigan. You know that the weather doesn't give a fuck about you right here. It proves it every year.
Yeah, but also, well, I don't know. We'll talk later about whether COVID was created in the lab, but if it wasn't, it's just a natural thing that a plague he fell upon us, I guess. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm tired of being, the nation's toilet in terms of day-to-day weather bullshit. We're proud. We have the most extreme weather in response to global warming, and then also COVID just is not getting under control in Michigan.
Yeah, well, that's par for course for Detroit. So
Right. Our guest today is another recommendation from Tom Elliott for our panel discussion on conspiracy theories. He's a believer in the Great Awakening of QAnon fame, Plandemic, and an anti-masker. So a pretty good cross-section of the most conspiratorial right-wing elements of our society today. And yet he calls himself a progressive and a hippie. So today we're going to talk to him a little, about his worldview and kick the tires, somewhat, if you will. Please give a Spartalk welcome to Moebius, the weird hippie guy. Moebius, how are you doing today, 420?
Greetings, Earth people. Happy 420. Cheers.
Cheers, man. So it is my understanding, I'm just basing some of this off of your questionnaire, that it's my understanding from the Great Awakening is that when Trump is reelected, he reveals his alliance with Q and the jailing of the elite, pedophilic, vampiric, what have you, Democrats, and sends them to Guantanamo Bay. Instead, what happened were the events of January 6th, an attempted insurrection or whatever you want to call it, but certainly an attempt to create that reality for some. And instead, power was transferred peaceably to Joe Biden on January 20th. Trump was banned from social media, but certainly went safely back to Florida, free man and ex-president. Then there was the theory about March 4th being the date based on some obscure presidential history dating back to Ulysses S. Grant. I even heard something about March 20th. I don't know. Maybe you could have.
Well, maybe I should just stop you for a second.
Yeah.
First of all, there's a lot to unpack here. So, am I like a Q person? Like, what's Q? I don't really know. What is Q? Do I believe that like Obama is arrested and Hillary is arrested? Right. I guess if we were talking about Q, like my favorite Q was
your favorite
Austin.
Q drop or your favorite Q?
The people, the guy, the videos or whatever was Austin Steinbart, who he was like, oh, I gotta come clean, I'm a DIA agent, and Trump's involved, and Mike Flynn's involved, and we're basically trying to make you like okay with when we all go and take out the Queen and all of her Mossad, Hitler, CIA mafia, right?
Yeah, but Moebius, like none of this ever happened. That's my real question. It's like, what is the great? So the other thing is,
you're asking the wrong person, really. I'm not.
Well, okay. Let me finish this real quick. So the other thing you talk about,
if you want to argue about something like, I do think that the election was rigged. I think
right. We can talk about that. But okay, so the thing that you wanted real quick, you wanted to talk about, and you said in your questionnaire that you wanted to talk about the Great Reset versus the Great Awakening.
What I wanted to talk about was the COVID response. We could talk about.
Well, you said Great Reset and Great Awakening, right?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about the Great Reset, and we can talk about the Great Awakening.
I'm just telling you my understanding of both those things, and I want to hear your understanding of those. So the Great Awakening. Real quick, Moebius, real quick. So the Great Awakening, as I understand it, is a QAnon thing where Trump jails people, puts them in Guantanamo Bay. The Great Reset was part of a meeting of the World Economic Forum held in June 2020. And so that, in contrast to the Great Awakening, what is the Great Reset to you right now, and what is the Great Awakening anymore? How do you define those terms?
So the Great Awakening isn't like a thing. It's just like people waking up. It's just like
To
You
what?
know, we've been going on this like crypto fascist, you know, you probably call it capitalist, but kind of vibe since the, you know, the CIA, you know, we formed some Gestapo organization, we elected them president, and you know, after Reagan. You know, I mean, you're putting a lot of assumptions on me. Like, I'm just to me, like, you know,
I'm just telling you what I know the Great
well,
Awakening to be and the Great
that's
Reset
fine.
to
I'm
be.
not
What do
judging
you
you.
what do you assume it to be?
The Great Awakening is just like people waking up, like people waking up to what is being done to us and what kind of people we have running things. And you know, like yeah, they're criminals, like these people who run you know, one Q term. Well, I've heard it before, but you know, like the death racket. You know, that, like, you know, war, famine, poverty, you know, all these things, you know, like it's you know, the difference probably between, well, I don't know about you and me, but Tom
We probably
is,
agree on all that stuff. I'm anti-war, I'm anti-poverty, but I don't see how,
well,
like,
right
for
now is
instance,
a good
Donald Trump's
time
going to
to
alleviate
start
it.
doing an anti-war movement. If you all think like anti-war is a good idea, this is because Joe Biden is back on the war. You know, as far as like, you know, I mean, I do think they rigged the election, but you know, that's beside the point.
Because
Q
Trump
is
was that dangerous, or
anonymous. I don't know
why?
what it is. I think like Q Shaman is probably like some MK Ultra guy or something. He's like, kind
Why
of
did they rig the election? Let me ask you that.
why?
Yeah,
Like,
let's
to win.
let's leave aside who.
I
Why
don't
did they
get
do it?
to win. You know, like why did
No,
they
but I mean,
rig
like,
the
what?
2000
Because Trump was
election?
that dangerous. Couldn't they work with Trump?
Obviously they hated Trump since all the corporate media was against him, and like he could do no right at all. You know, like everything he did was bad, like every single thing. There was nothing good at all, like lowering, you know, drug prices or ending TPP. You know, TPP's back on. That's real dangerous. That's like the U.S. loses sovereignty to the WTO, or now I guess these Davos people. So the Great Awakening is just people waking up to the fact that this crypto fascist conspiracy exists, and it's not just like people bumbling around. They're dumb, like they have all the money. They keep running scams on us, you know. And so the Great Awakening is like waking up to that, waking up to our own personal power. You know, it's not necessarily like a political thing, the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening is more like a spiritual thing. You know, if you're a spiritual person, you can't really be controlled by, you know, controllers, right? And that's what and, you know, maybe it's the Queen of England, or, you know, it's probably the Queen of England, but I heard she gave up her crown. So who is it now? You know, but like the Rockefellers,
I don't think she gave up her crown. The Queen of England, but
so then what's the Great Reset? So the Great
so
Awakening,
yeah, what's the Great Reset? That's my next question. Yes.
yeah, what's the Great Reset? The Great Reset is like Klaus Schwab. You know who that is?
I don't.
He's, you know, like Zbigniew Brzezinski, or like Henry Kissinger, like Klaus Schwab.
These are all guys that were on at the WEF, the World Economic Forum, right?
Foundation guys, the Rockefeller Foundation mouthpieces, and
sure.
Klaus Schwab is another Rockefeller mouthpiece from the 70s. And so Klaus Schwab's thing is like basically like, well, I don't know, you know, it's also, there's so much like tangents we could take, but like the Federal Reserve, right? So the Federal Reserve, all the money the Federal Reserve prints is loaned to banks, and then that money is loaned to us. So all the money that exists in circulation printed by the Federal Reserve has interest on it. So like in theory, we can never pay back the interest. So Klaus Schwab is like the stakeholders. That's what they call these people that like are invested in the Federal Reserve, or Davos, right? You know Davos.
Yeah, I
It's
know
all
Davos.
The Great Reset is Davos. That's
Well, but
who-
I'm saying is that this
Davos
the
is
Great
like
Reset was
Rockefeller.
used. It was used originally as a term, I think, to talk about how everybody was going to rebuild after COVID. It was a meeting held during COVID.
Well, Klaus Schwab wrote a book in 2020, but he wrote other books back in the 70s and since the 70s. He's on this. He's Davos. Davos. He's
But do you deny that the economy is going to have to change like dramatically because of COVID?
Well, I mean, you know,
a Great Reset could be just that, right?
Ideally, we'd be like a civilized country and have like trains, and we'd have like social services, like ideally, but that is not the case.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah,
But,
no, I agree with that. So,
what
okay,
is
so
the Great Reset? So the Great Reset is like, you know, they promise fairness, they promise environmentalism. Who are the Great Reset mouthpieces? Like John Kerry's over there yelling at India about BRI. It's like, BRI is bad. Don't join BRI. You know what BRI is?
I don't.
The big road, like the bullet train, like Russia and China are building like roads and trains throughout Africa and Asia. They have like BRICS is like the BRICS Road Initiative. BRICS is like you know, Chinese loan program, an alternative to the IMF. Like the IMF is like, here, take this loan, and now our companies can do whatever they want. But China is just like, here, take this loan. It's a low interest rate. So if you invest in development and then you can create value and pay back the loan, that's an awesome deal. But was it Nigeria? I don't know. They're probably used to the IMF loans and they just fucked off their loan. And then, you know, China, like, we got your port for 50 years, you know. But, you know,
Sure.
like, so that's kind of like this free association thing versus Osawog is the Great Reset thing, which is like a.
But I'm saying, what is so nefarious about all this? Like, governments are going to have to reset their economies, essentially, right? They're going to have to like create a new norm.
We just have to stop doing this dumb shit.
Well, I agree. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get back to the dumb shit.
You'll be fine. You know.
Okay.
What's that?
So the whole conceit behind QAnon, as I understand it, though, and again, I'm going to be making assumptions.
I mean, I'm not here to really talk about QAnon.
That's
like,
fine. Let me tell you.
Like the Queen of England could be running shit, and it's
Moebius.
like Illuminati or whatever, and they're pedophiles. I can believe all that. But like, are there like white hats? You know, it's like.
Moebius, let me tell you my understanding of it.
That'd be awesome.
Let me tell you my understanding of it, and then you can tell us how you differ. Okay. What I understand as the conceit behind QAnon theory is that it casts Donald Trump as the role of savior against this secret child trafficking ring.
I mean, that'd be cool. That would be rad. If
that would be rad, but do you believe it?
I'd be super stoked.
Right. So, but then Trump appointed John Bolton, Jeff Sessions, who separated immigrant families at the border, Bill Barr, who gassed peaceful protesters in front of the White House.
I'm not like a partisan politics person. I'm not like
no, but you get how that's all very deep state shit. He didn't even take down Jeffrey Epstein. You know, like if he's supposed to go.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like you're a serf. Like the shit is like Game of Thrones. Like you are a serf. Like you don't matter. Like you only matter if you sue. I
didn't even talk about myself.
You're not
what are you talking about?
You're little people. You know.
Yeah, but Jeffrey Epstein is a serf.
What I mean?
What are you talking about with that?
Wait,
like I mean, but I'm saying he didn't end the war in Yemen, the genocide in Yemen, like. You couldn't even get us $2,000 direct payments. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how is he the center of this thing? How is he the center of this thing?
I missed a lot of that. It seems like you're trying to get me to say some good things. So I heard you talk about the separation of children. That's still going on. That's a Clinton law. What that is that's like in Bill Clinton time. if a child came to the border, these people are asylum seekers. I don't know that everybody understands that, but so if a child came to the border,
I do.
they would have to be accepted within 30 days. And so then these caravans, I can't remember, some Honduran, some rich Honduran guy, and he's like, hey, I'll pay for everybody to go. And then he like, oh shit, I was just kidding, I didn't say that. And then, but they all went anyway. And then all these NGOs were just like, okay, we'll pay for you to go to the border. And then Mexico's like, oh, you can have asylum here. And they're like, no, we're going to the border. And then, so that basically flooded.
Well, what I'm saying is
system.
Trump either kept up deep statey things or he started new ones, like you pulling up like with unmarked vans and like arresting people without reading the Miranda, right?
Basic facts, like you're kind of sweeping in too broad of strokes for like I don't know.
Well, why
like
is
that,
he so deep statey? That's my
situation.
question. Why is he so deep statey when he's the main force against them, right?
Trump's like born in the deep state. Like Trump's born in the mafia. His job was like he was like the entertainer for like the coke dealers. At some point, he kind of turned on Epstein, you know, and cooperated with the FBI. I think that was good. You know, before that, he had run parties for Epstein. You know, Epstein probably set him up with that 13-year-old on the plane.
Right.
Know?
So
like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like for you and me, like we're like decent people. We have like normal people taboos, you know. For these people, they have a different set of. Rich people are different. Rich people, it's like, you know, you go to the hood, that's a different country, you know, and then you go to rich people land, that's a different country too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they don't think like you and me. They think in their plot. They have plots, you know.
But that's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't Trump be a tool of the deep state too? Under your assumption, let's say there's a massive conspiracy. Well, how hard is it to buy off Trump in that scenario?
I don't know. I don't know what's up with Trump. Like I'm glad he didn't start a war. The economy, I think he did some good things for the economy. He didn't like fix all the deep problems, you know. I think that it was good. He backed like TPP. That was terrible. It was good he got rid of that. He backed down from war, and he didn't pass any fascist laws. Like people want to be like, oh, he's Hitler, but then they were like basically out there burning shit down for like 6 months, and are they in jail? You know, so doesn't seem like much of a Hitler to me. You know, if he was Hitler, he'd be like,
gassing people in front of the White House a little bit.
The military run shit now. I'm Hitler now.
And the insurrection a little bit.
To me, like, oh shit, we're gonna. Biden's all like, oh, everybody's like, we're gonna spy on everyone. Like, we're gonna spy on white supremacists. But you know, that's you too, right? Also, probably, or anybody who's like whatever, like, you know, whoever they want to spy on. You know, the DHS or whatever.
No, I mean, we'll agree on spying.
I don't know
I'm not for spying. We should move on though.
Like you want to or something. Let's talk about COVID.
I wanted to talk about COVID. I mean, so you said in your real quick, you said in your questionnaire that the science shows that masks don't work. Do you mean surgical masks?
That's true.
What's that?
The science shows masks don't work. That's true.
Surgical masks?
No real
surgical masks? Why have them been using? Why have doctors been using them in hospitals since the 1920s?
It's not. Do you understand what science is? Science is like you have a hypothesis and you test that. So if your hypothesis is masks prevent the spread of influenza, then a good experiment for that is you have some people and they're wearing masks and they're around flu people, and then you have other people and they're not wearing masks and they're around flu people, and you see if there is a difference in the infection rate, and there is not. And it doesn't really matter if it's N95 masks, there still is not a statistically significant reduction in infection rate. Like you have all these studies where Taiwan wore masks, and then Taiwan's also an island. Belarus didn't wear masks. Afghanistan didn't wear masks.
Well, some places weren't hit as hard as others.
It's cherry picking. It's ad hoc. And then the other kind of study is like these. We shot a bunch of snot through the mask, and this much came out on the other side. So, and that implies that maybe like your mask worked, but the real studies are the ones where you study the mask wearers and the non-mask wearers, and they're all around flu people or COVID people, and you see if there's a difference in the infection rate. And if there's not a difference in the infection rate, masks do not work. And
I don't know of any controlled studies that were conducted like that. Can you point us to controlled studies that were conducted like that?
The CDC published a study like that in May, a hospital study, and they found
saying that masks don't work. That was their conclusion.
They also found that washing your hands doesn't work to prevent an airborne illness. It does.
The CDC concluded this.
It does work. Yeah, they did the study. They published the study. It does. Washing your hands does work to prevent GI-borne illness, but it does not. I mean, you could say, oh, it's a small sample size. It's one study or whatever. We need more studies. So, but in that study, there was no difference between hand washers and not hand washers, and there was no difference between mask wearers and non-mask wearers in their contraction of the flu.
So why is the CDC suggesting it then?
And not one single study.
Why is the CDC making people do it then?
The CDC is the vaccine corporations. Like, you're all acting like the CDC is some kind of authority science figure. The CDC is not about science.
Well, you just quoted their studies, Moebius. You're the one that is using them as an authority in this case.
Well, they published a study, and that study.
Yeah. So why are we trusting this study? They're the vaccine.
You don't understand science.
Why would they even conduct a study that would go against their attempt to disseminate masks, etc.?
The mask is just some brainwashing shit. Like, I don't know why.
Why would they do the study then?
In Redfield, they're all like, "Oh, if we wear masks, and then COVID will die in a month." And then before that, Fauci's saying the more normal shit, like, well, touching things is how you get COVID. And if you wear a mask, you're going to touch your face and then you're going to die. And so probably don't wear a mask because you'll touch your face and die, and touching your face is the real thing.
That's all been litigated. We know why Dr. Fauci did that. He thought there was a shortage of masks. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Repeat.
Well, you can say that ad hoc, but that's not what he said. He didn't say there's a shortage of masks and we need you to not wear masks.
Yeah, I agree. He lied in that case.
And
he said they don't work, and he lied.
You're going to have a, what do they call it? Unintended consequences. You're going to touch your face, and then you're going to fucking die because you touched your face, and that's how you get COVID.
And he didn't know that cloth masks. He didn't know at the time, Moebius. He didn't know at the time that cloth masks were as effective as they were. But you're asserting that surgical masks don't even
understand science. What was the method section of that scientific study? And we can talk about it.
Well, let's talk about this real quick. Do you think that doctors who have been using these masks for 90 years in hospitals, do you think that they were just wrong this entire time? Moebius?
I mean, there's a lot on that. So basically what doctors have done. So first of all, let's go back to SARS, right? You know what SARS is? Like most Americans don't know what SARS is. Like SARS, it was like for China, the people, they had SARS and they were like, they don't have any symptoms, they're not coughing anything up, and then they die like they had pneumonia, and they're like, what?
But it didn't exist in the 20s. So my only question, because we got to move on. I'm sorry, Moebius, we got to move on. Why are the doctors doing this since the 20s?
Because they follow protocol. They just do what they're told.
And the protocol is flawed.
Some doctors that think for themselves, and doctors that come out of the closet and go against the system get deplatformed. They get their licenses threatened. That's what's happened throughout COVID. But most people in an institution They don't really think. Like, just think about your average doctor in a hospital. How many patients are they seeing? They're seeing so many patients. They don't have time to really think. They're just like a machine seeing.
But where
patients.
were all the doctors against masks, surgical masks in hospitals before COVID?
Maybe they're ill-informed. They're like you, and they don't.
I mean, they're the ones who created this system in the 20s, no less. Okay, so we should talk about the vaccine.
Looked at the study.
Sorry, go on. I'm not hearing you right now. Repeat what you said.
I mean, the doctors who think that masks work, I don't think they really thought it through. Like, they haven't looked at these, like, to me,
for
like,
90 years.
If you want to know if masks work, you have people with masks and people with not masks, and they're around people who have the flu or COVID, and you compare how many of them got it, and the bigger sample size you have, the better, so like, that is a good mask study to me. And a lot of these other, like, the WHO was like, we're not going to include mask studies like that because there's ethical reasons, but those mask studies already exist. The WHO is just trying to cover it up. That's why they don't have those mask studies in there. Like, it's a lie. Like, the government, they lie to you. Did you know that the CDC?
I'm not saying the government doesn't lie to you, but I didn't know what all the medical establishment and doctors did for 90 years.
I say trust the science. Science is a process of thinking. It's a process of experimentation, right? That's what science is. Science is not an institution.
Let's get into the vaccines. Well, let's get into the vaccines, because you said that you believe that COVID is a bioweapon.
Hold on 1 second. Have you ever heard the term regulatory capture? Do you know what that means? Or revolving doors? Have you heard these terms? Revolving doors, regulatory capture. What does that mean?
Is it about people that are appointed to positions to investigate private corporations that they themselves have an interest in?
Tom Vilsack is the head of the FDA. Who the fuck is he?
Right.
Monsanto. Julie Gerber.
I'm not disagreeing with you on any of this.
So Julie Gerberding, the head of the CDC before Robert Redfield. Who was she? Merck. Who's Robert Redfield? He's this old-time AIDS scammer. He's worked with Tony Fauci on all kinds of vaccine scams that started with AIDS.
So let's get into Bill Gates, because that's
work for the corporation.
That's the top, right?
100% job by the corporation. There's good people.
I agree that we need to get money out of our government. Corporate money out of our government. But you believe that Bill Gates is the head of this. You said that you think that COVID is a bioweapon created by Bill Gates.
Is one of the most effective agents, and probably the most effective agent. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm certainly no fan of Bill Gates.
You could say Tony. I don't know. It's like a team. They plan it. It's all Davos and all these.
I think that he's a monopolist and highly suspect. He has highly suspect philanthropic projects.
He's monopolizing land. Have you ever heard of SPARS?
Well, we are Spartalk, so I've heard of that. But
SPARS is
let me just ask you,
like Plandemic Anti-masker.
What exactly is Bill Gates's motivation here, and how did he pull off the most successful conspiracy to release a bioweapon in the history of mankind?
They're fascists.
Why and how?
You don't get it. It's like the crown. It's like the people who were the crowns, the people who had life and death over people. These rich people don't think like you. That's what you don't get. They don't think like you. It's like Game of Thrones. You got to think Game of Thrones. You got to think these people think.
Yeah, but I knew the motivations of everybody in Game of Thrones, except for Daenerys at the end.
What's Bill Gates' motivation?
Yeah,
the $1 trillion that he made this year. What's Bill Gates' motivation? The Great Reset and the possibility of being some kind of fucked up feudal overlord in a technocratic oligarchy.
But what are the vaccines actually doing to us? Is there something? Are you saying that there's a microchip in him, or what?
Oh, well, we don't know for sure, because you are the experiment. The vaccine, the human trials end in 2023. So 2023, there's a reason vaccines take 8 years to get approved. So 2023, maybe we'll have more information.
So Bill Gates is currently impeding global access of COVID vaccines, actually, to certain countries based on intellectual property of corporations.
Yeah. So that means he's just another. Yeah. I mean, maybe
What I'm asking, yeah, it's like, why would he do that? Is what I'm saying.
You know,
why would he do that?
Maybe he's just trying to get money. The thing, well, it's just what you're looking at is you're looking at one tiny bit of the.
He's not making money from that.
That's
I mean, like,
bit that fits into your narrative, but you can't really look at the other narrative. You know, the other narrative makes way more sense. You know, like he's always trying to make money. That's how these people are. They're always trying to make money. They're always.
But in this case, he's making other people money. And holding up the vaccine. So I'm saying if his goal is to get the vaccine as long, well, okay, it's one thing or another, Moebius. Either
Bill Gates wants everybody to get that. Bill Gates wants a lot of people to get the vaccine.
Right. So why is he impeding it? Why is he impeding access? Why is he impeding access based on intellectual property?
I mean, ask him why is he? I don't know.
Okay.
The most recent little factoid doesn't cancel out all the other galaxies.
No, I'm not saying it does. It was a question you don't know. That's fine.
You know his motivation? I don't know. I'm not psychic. I can't read his mind.
But maybe you have a theory. I don't know.
I don't know what Bill Gates is thinking.
It seems counterintuitive based on your
He's
theory. That's
candid,
all.
Though.
So did you see the most recent documentary on? I'm going to ask you one more on QAnon. Okay.
What are you asking specifically?
One more thing on QAnon. Did you see the HBO documentary?
No, that's probably
no. You didn't see that,
but I should probably watch it.
You should.
I mean, like I said, I'm not like a Q. I'm just, you know, I've just thought about stuff for a long time, and I just look at things and I see the stories develop, and this is my take on it. You know. So
you'd say you're more Plandemic than Q.
Plandemic 2. Yeah, that's pretty legit. You should all watch Plandemic 2 and get back to me. I think Plandemic 2.
I watched a little bit of it in preparation to this.
Plandemic 1 was like I believe her. I believe that Mikovich lady, because, like, you know, Tony Fauci's a sleaze bag, and, you know, they pulled her paper and then they sent her to jail. And so she couldn't defend it. And then as soon as they got rid of her paper, they let her out of jail and dropped all the charges, and she never had any charges. So, you know, that's like ghost biz. But, you know, they did it to make money. And so I believe her, but, you know, like, it's her word against Tony Fauci's. And for some reason, people are still like, oh, Tony Fauci's been in the government for a long time and he's virus man. And he's like a con artist, you know, he's done a lot of damage, and he works on bioweapons. Like, what was he doing with that, you know, 3.7 million Wuhan Labs Eco Alliance? You know about that angle? That's weird.
I mean, he was the number one expert as soon as we had to turn to somebody, according to.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I do know what you're saying, but I'm saying, like,
Eco Alliance. They were like, you can't do those. It's in Plandemic 2. You can't do the experiments. You can't do these experiments, these bioweapon experiments here. And then so he's like, okay, move them in an NGO, Eco Alliance, move them to China, move them to Wuhan Labs, bat SARS experiments. Bill Gates has patents through the Purbright Institute for, like, mixing HCOVs. Like, that's like a common cold coronavirus with, like, SARS.
Well,
right, which is
the Purbright Institute has the Purbright Institute has a patent on COVID, an avian or not COVID. It has avian coronavirus. It affects birds
as well. They do.
Well, it affects birds. That's the patent they have.
They also have one for with SARS and HCOV. You know, whatever debunkery site you looked at, you know, they just showed a different patent.
Well, they might have, but they don't have a patent for COVID.
It's not a patent. What I saw wasn't a patent for COVID. It was a patent for putting SARS markers on an HCOV for the use of studying bronchitis.
Okay,
Sorry, dude,
so we'll have
whole
to follow
thing.
up on that. So Tom connected us in anticipation for a potential panel discussion on conspiracy theories. Who else that ideologically differs from you would you want on that panel, and what would you want to get out of it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just, I'm just promoting like the Great Awakening and rational thought and people thinking about stuff like they can and they will do it. It's like people just think the government is like trying to help them, and there are actually like actual evil people. You just like, why is everybody dying? Oh, because maybe they're actually evil. But I don't know. So yeah, help the world. I want people to think things through. I like to see discourse. I don't know. I'm not really like a famous blogger in the famous blogger scene.
Is there any other conspiracy theorists you want to talk to who maybe you disagree with?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to search my memory banks.
All right, cool. Well, we'll talk further in general.
Well, I just I just want to say one thing, because I kind of came prepared more to talk about COVID. We kind of got bogged down in some other things, but the biggest thing about COVID is just, this is what happened is so first there's this like event 201, right? An event 201 is like this role playing thing where they role play COVID, right? Then like we're all told people are dropping dead in the streets, right? Then there's this Ferguson study that's like Imperial College is funded.
Who did the 203
that
study?
Guy had to resign, because he was all this stuff what we did, it was based on a lie, and I kind of feel like COVID mutated away from its SARS nature. Like that's what I'm trying to tell you, is like the doctors gave up their ability to diagnose. They gave it to these Gavi companies that are making the vaccine. They're the same companies that are doing the tests, and they're making money on the tests, and they're making money on the vaccines. And Gavi was organized by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And these PCR tests are not a test. Like, right, you can dial them up and
okay, so what interest would Bill Gates have? Wait. What interest would Bill Gates have making money on the vaccine if he wants the vaccine out there?
That's all. Look at the CIA's history. They want
it's
power.
One thing or another. Either you're getting money or you're getting the vaccine out.
The history. What?
Either you're making money or you're getting the vaccine out. Right?
Oh yeah, I'll move to Mexico or some shit. Fuck that. Yeah,
right, but I'm saying,
bodily autonomy is important, and that is, it's like,
I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I'm saying that like nobody's forcing them to do anything, and we have these intellectual property holdups put in effect by Bill Gates. So I'm saying, why?
Yeah, you're like focusing on some minute point, and I don't know what his motivation for doing that was. Like, he stopped one thing, the other things are going. He's invested in every Gavi company in his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or trust, in the Bill and Melinda Gates Trust. There's a trust and there's the foundation. The trust is invested in all these Gavi companies. They're invested in like Bayer and Monsanto and Pfizer and AstraZeneca, all this shit. And people were like, oh, isn't that a conflict of interest, Bill Gates? And it didn't matter. They put out a Netflix special, and you think he's good,
I don't think he's good. I just said I think he's a monopolist and has horrible
he's a monopolist, but you don't see his whole game. Like, you're seeing like one tiny fragment.
I don't see his motivation in this, but I see his motivation elsewhere.
Like, you're using that tiny fragment to close out This whole
no, I just
world-
don't see. I don't see his motivation is all Moebius. I get that he like his motivation on a lot of other nefarious projects.
Well, I don't know what it's.
And I don't like that, like,
a weird
billionaires existing and like putting on their philanthropic projects on the rest of us. No question. But I don't know how you organize one of the most. I mean, like this is
Well,
the most
that's what
insane conspiracy theory. This is the most insane conspiracy ever conducted. The most
you just have a lot of
widespread.
money and you put
He
your
did the
money
whole
in
world.
things. How does the mafia take over like an organization? How does the CIA take over an organization? It's the same thing.
Especially all over the world. How do they do that? I don't know.
Well, the doctors in the US, one, the COVID diagnosis is a PCR test. It's these PCR tests. The PCR tests are controlled by Gavi, who is licensed by the CDC, right? And then these Gavi companies, they are also the companies selling the vaccine. So you have a whole monopoly around it. So what if they are lying to make bazillions of dollars and turn us into a fascist totalitarian country so that they can be the king and do whatever the fuck they want?
But I just think they would streamline it better. it's like, it seems like
Well,
the way that they're doing,
why?
it's bungling. It's bungling, Moebius.
How many countries have you overthrown? How many worlds have you dominated? How many worlds have you taken over? You know what I mean? You have all these.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying it doesn't lend itself to the idea of it being a lie. It's too messy to be a lie. But I don't know.
I mean, I could explain the whole thing to you. You know, that's what.
Well, and I want to leave some of this for later conversations.
Foundation.
Well, I want to leave
Moebius.
I want to leave. We're over time already. I want to leave some of this for later conversations, but I'll leave it. I'll leave. You know, who deprogrammed the other more to the viewers to decide. But I appreciate you letting us to take a look at what's going on inside your head and your worldview. And thank you for coming on. Go on. Last word. You have the last word.
All right. Thank you. Trust the science, which means trust the process of checking things out. You know, don't fake news. You have to look at fake news to get real news. Sorry. And, you know, like these people have a monetary interest. It takes 8 years to make a safe vaccine. Okay. So, yeah, you know, you are the experiment. So,
well, yeah, we didn't have that kind of time, but I appreciate you coming on. And we will we will talk soon. We will populate a panel, and you will be on. I mean, you will be on it. You know, everything willing. Okay. So thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers. Happy 420.
Yeah, happy 420. Haakim, you got anything?
Yeah, I did. I'm good.
All right, cool. So happy 420 to everybody out there. We really appreciate you watching. We really appreciate being able to raise a glass to you. Check out the So Faded, a show that we're going to have a crossover with today, this week. So and besides that, just have a very good and safe rest of your night. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. You also have a good and safe rest of your night. Enjoy. Happy 420.
Happy 420, my friend.
Try to make things work and gain something.